Shotguns have more than earned their place in your preparedness armory. Of course, they're extremely versatile, and the utilitarian benefits that they provide are hard to beat with any other firearms platform. But I did make some changes to this particular shotgun to make it a little bit more friendly for self-defense, which is what I wanted to share with you today, because this shotgun started life off as a Mossberg 500 field and security combo, which means it's a 12 gauge pump shotgun that came with an 18.5-inch security barrel, as well as a 28-inch vented rib barrel, which is made for hunting. This gives me a lot of versatility, and once I added some of these accessories that you currently see on this shotgun, it became a lot more effective for defensive purposes while still being easily usable in a hunting role. And I'm Magic Prepper, and I'm here with MidwayUSA, and I wanted to share this with you to give you some ideas about what you can do with your Mossberg 500 or even a Remington 870, as many of these accessories have support for both platforms, without having to buy a different shotgun or change into a different platform just because your hunting shotgun didn't really give you what you wanted. So let's get into talking about what this shotgun started out as, and then I'll start telling you about all the different accessories that I have installed on it right now. So like I said, this shotgun started life off as a field security combo, which means that it originally came with a wood forearm as well as a wood buttstock. And it also provided me with this 28-inch ribbed vented barrel, which is great for dove hunting or hunting pheasants or anything you might use it for in a hunting role. But the 18.5-inch barrel that I have installed right now is much more capable of getting around corners or having in a tight space for home defense purposes. So that's why that's installed, but I just wanted to mention this because this barrel adds a lot of practicality. Now this shotgun that's set up for home defense with the easiest swap of a barrel, which on a Mossberg 500 is very easy to do. I have a dove hunting gun or a pheasant hunting gun or whatever else I might want to hunt. So excellent way to start out by getting this field security combo, because it's really all you need when it comes to a 12 gauge shotgun. It can provide you with everything. And right off the bat with just the wood furniture and even the long barrel if you needed to, but the short barrel it comes with, it's already ready to go for home defense as well. But there are some things that I added to make it a little bit more efficient. Now, one of the first things I did to this shotgun to make it a little bit more upgraded was added a Mossberg 500 Magpul SGA stock, and that's what you see right here. And this gives me a couple of different pieces of utility. First off, it allows me to attach a sling on the side of the stock, which I actually like because of how I like to carry this shotgun. Second off, it allows you to adjust the length of pull thanks to these spacers that you see right here. And so I find that very beneficial because now I can set this stock up perfectly for what I need based on my body type. It also has a butt pad right here, which is really squishy and really helps with the recoil. And it's very textured as well, so you don't have it slip off your shoulder or anything like that either. So all those things to me are worth that upgrade. Not to mention on the part where you actually wrap your hand around the stock, there's some texturing right here, which is pretty aggressive and feels very good. So all in all, I really like this stock. I think it's an excellent upgrade, and it kind of helped just make the shotgun more comfortable and more accessorizable thanks to where this sling placement is right here based on this loop attachment. So what's the next thing I added to this shotgun? Now I wanted a way to get a light on this shotgun, and there's a lot of different approaches you can take in order to accomplish that, but one of the best ways to do this is to get a Streamlight TL racker, which is exactly what you see right here. It replaces the forearm on the shotgun and then positions a weapon-mounted light right underneath the magazine tube as shown right here. And what's nice about that is that this is very intuitive, very ergonomic, and the switch is just a large strip on both sides of the TL racker. I can get the sling out of the way, as you can see, and it doesn't matter where you push it, it will activate the light either side and at any point of the activation switch. So that makes it very intuitive to do, makes it easy to reach without having to search for switches or any other type of pressure device, and it's right where your hand's going to be anyway. This thing also puts out 1,000 lumens, so it's very bright, and it also has this hand strap, which is nice for just maintaining and securing the weapon during firing, so you're not going to slip off as easily. But all in all, I like having this light. If you're gonna have a shotgun set up for self-defense or home defense purposes, being able to identify a target in a low light condition is pretty important. You don't have to use it, but if you need it, you'll be glad you had it. And where I live out here on the property, I might have some kind of nuisance out here at night or be dealing with some kind of an animal threat or who knows what else, and I need to be able to see exactly what it is I'm looking at before I decide whether or not to take a shot, and this allows me to do that. So that's one of the best upgrades I've made to this shotgun, in all honesty, because it really helps out a lot when it comes to the ergonomics of the forearm itself and the ability to activate a weapon light intuitively. So let's move on to what's next. Earlier, I was explaining that I like this stock quite a bit, especially because it allows me to attach a sling right here on this side of the shotgun. But in order for that to work the way that you want it to, you have to have another sling attachment point on the opposite side. And what I found for that is the GG&G front QD sling swivel mount. That's for the Mossberg 500. And what's great about it is that it allows you to use a QD sling swivel, and then you have this attachment point right here. So now you get to orient your sling very similarly to how you would use a sling on like an AR-15 or something like that, but it also gives you the ability to have QD, so if you need to take the sling off quickly, or if you need to just attach a different sling or whatever else you might need to use it for, you now have the ability to do that. So I like that quite a bit. Like I said, it interacts here with the cap of the magazine tube, and it's very easy to install and provides that sling attachment point exactly where I wanted it. So this is not your typical shot shell carrier you see installed on a lot of shotguns out there. These are actually Esstac shotgun cards. And what that is a hook and loop backed caddy that allows you to have, well, in this case, 6 additional shot shells attached right here on the side of my receiver. And right here, all this is the other side of the hook and loop that's adhesive and basically glued to the side of the shotgun. Now, why do I prefer that over some of the standalone permanently installed shot shell carriers? Well, first off, this allows you to switch these cards out as quickly as you want. So let's say I have this attached right here, and then I use all the additional ammunition, and then I need to get a new load of shells up on the gun as soon as possible. I can tear this off, right? I can go into my back pocket where I have another shot shell card. I slap that right on, and now I've got a fully loaded shot shell carrier once again. Whereas on your traditional shot shell carriers, you have to load each individual shell into that shot shell carrier before it's ready to go. So this is one reason why I really like these. These can also be carried in pockets or even magazine carriers made for AR-15 magazines quite easily. And not to mention, they're pretty easy to use. So let me demonstrate that for you really quickly. Now, and this is something you could apply to a typical shot shell carrier as well, in case you're trying to figure out how you want to stage your shells. But in general, the way this works, okay, is that if I'm going to reload my magazine tube, I'm going to come back here to these ones that are pointing upward, right? And I'm going to come down with my thumb, pull this out from the bottom, and then load it into the mag tube. Well, if I have my forearm in the right position, I'm going to load it into the mag tube, right? And so I'll show you that again just so you can kind of see it. But I'm going to come down, pull it out from under, and then it's going to go right into the tube. Now, that works for most situations. But why do I have these other 2 shells that are oriented towards the ground? The reason for that is in case I need to do a quick emergency reload. And so what you do with those is that you're going to pop them upward and then turn your gun and drop the shell inside of the receiver, and now you're ready to go. So hopefully that demonstrated well for you, because I couldn't actually see the camera, but that's why I have them oriented in different ways. I have 2 emergency reloads that are oriented towards the ground, and then usually 3 or 4 that are oriented upward for just reloading the magazine tube itself. And I really like these shotgun cards because, like I said, now this one's almost empty. I can just rip it off. We can grab the one I threw on the ground before, throw this one back on, and I'm ready to get back into it. So Esstac cards, I think, are an excellent upgrade to any self-defense, home defense, or tactical style shotgun. And of course, there's a couple other things too that I think add a little bit of quality of life. So usually the security barrels that come with these shotguns have a gold bead sight, which in general works pretty well. But I wanted something a little bit easier to use, especially in low light conditions. And so enter the Metrolight Tru-Dot front bead sight for the Mossberg 500 you see right here. Now this has a 5-40 thread pitch. Now they have other versions that are for other shotgun models that have a different thread pitch, so you'd want to make sure you get the right one for your particular shotgun. But this is an excellent way to get a sight on the gun that has a tritium insert, and that allows me to see it in the dark. So in case I'm in a low light situation and I can't necessarily use a light for whatever reason in the moment, I can still see my bead sight without having to broadcast my location. And so I like that quite a bit as a very simplistic upgrade to the security barrel specifically, because a lot of bad things happen at night and we need to be able to see where we're shooting. Now, there are some other ways you could have taken this in regards to how to see at night using your shotgun and still being on target, but I actually like the bead sight quite a bit because it's super simplistic. There's not a lot to think about, and it just works. So the Metrolight Tru-Dot 5 to 40 thread pitch, excellent upgrade to a Mossberg 500 security barrel, but there's a couple other things that you should be aware of too. So I've messed around with this quite a few times, and I'm still unable to commit to putting an optic on this particular shotgun because the bead sight works well and it keeps things very simple. But I do have a UTG Pro rail here on the receiver, which would allow me to mount anything that's Picatinny compatible. And so I can use that for mounting a red dot. I could use it for mounting a scope if I wanted. I could use it to mount just about anything. But all in all, any of these cheaper rails that you can add to a Mossberg 500 or a Remington 870, they generally work pretty well. And it allows you to have that versatility of deciding if you want to try an optic or just test different things out based on what you think you're going to use the gun for. So I would suggest maybe just grabbing one because they're very inexpensive. I mean, Truglo makes one. Let's see, there's a lot of other companies too. I believe Warren makes one as well. It's just a very simple upgrade that allows you to try out a lot of different things. And maybe a red dot sight works better for your eyes than just relying on the front bead sight or something along those lines. And what this does is it allows me to just change that at any moment if I decide to. So I like having it on the gun just to allow me that versatility. But in general, I've been a fan of the bead sight, which is why I don't have a red dot on the shotgun right now. The only other thing that's on this shotgun is the sling. Everything else is factory. I don't change the internals of these guns or anything like that because they just work. Mossberg 500s are excellent shotguns, very reliable, very durable, and I'm not going to mess with the internals of this at all because I just want it to run. But I do need a sling, and this sling, in all honesty, is just some no-name 2-point tactical sling that has an adjustment loop right here. Now, I would suggest getting something a little better, just so you'd have a couple of more quality of life features that this sling doesn't have. So getting something like a Magpul MS1 or getting a Blue Force Gear sling or anything that's going to give you something a little bit better than whatever this thing is would be a good idea. But just having a sling that's 2-point and adjustable has made this shotgun a lot more usable for me in the sense of carrying it in the way that I like when it comes to a self-defense weapon, okay? So that's the shotgun. Those are all the upgrades I've done to it. And in all honesty, I think it's pretty awesome. I really enjoy shooting it, and it just gives me a peace of mind knowing that I could defend myself from a bear, a moose, I could defend myself from a two-legged threat, or I could go hunt a tiny little dove, and it does all those things very well regardless. And yes, I can just put the 28-inch barrel on this exact setup, and it's going to do the same it would have with any other setup regarding wood furniture or anything else. So I have that versatility without having to change anything other than a barrel. And I find that to be extremely beneficial. Let me know about your shotgun upgrades down in the comments below, or maybe a preferred shotgun platform that you like better. I'm not a huge shotgun person, but I do appreciate the utility of the platform, and I'll always have a 12 gauge in my inventory just because it's ubiquitous in the sense of what it can accomplish. Hopefully this gave you some things to consider. If you're thinking about upgrading your Mossberg 500 or even your Remington 870, this might be a good place to start. And maybe we'll do this again in the future.